Hi, this is Lara at Elliott Wave Stock Market with a free Dow analysis for you for the trading session dated Wednesday 9th of March after New York's closed on Wednesday and before New York opens for Thursday the 10th. And I'm recording this video in the very small hours of Thursday the 10th. This is my only bearish wave count that I have for you today. It's not the only possibility, but it's the only bearish wave count I can see that recognises all this sideways movement as a triangle. This wave count expects that we may have had a trend change at intermediate and therefore at primary degree, and that this downwards movement here may be the very first wave within primary wave 3 to the downside. We need to wait to see a candlestick below this big wide blue channel now to have confirmation of primary 3 underway. So this wave count sees this downwards wave here as an impulse for wave 1 at pink or minute degree, and thereafter we're in a zigzag for pink or minute wave 2 to the upside, with an impulse up for A, a triangle for B, and we still need an impulse or a 5-wave diagonal up for wave C green to end the zigzag for wave 2 pink. Wave 2 may not move beyond the start of 1. This wave count is invalidated with movement above 12,395. The sideways movement of the last few days must end, and when it ends, it's going to move out very strongly either way. If it moves upwards, then this wave count could be correct. Taking you to a 2-hourly chart where the low for wave 1 pink down here is this point down here. This is an impulse down for wave 1 pink, and thereafter the start of a zigzag for wave 2, a 5-wave structure for A, and a triangle for B with an A, B, C, D, and E may have been over since this chart was prepared. 4 of the 5 subwaves of a triangle should subdivide into zigzags or zigzag combinations, so one of them may be an impulse, and if one of them is going to be an impulse, it's usually wave A, so I have no problem with seeing this as an A wave of a triangle, and all the rules and guidelines are met. Thereafter, I'm seeing this piece of upwards movement here as a zigzag. This is very obviously a zigzag down here for wave C. We should expect one of the subwaves of a triangle to be more complicated and longer lasting with deeper corrections than the others. It's usually C and sometimes D, so I quite like seeing this wave as a D wave of a triangle. It's a double zigzag correction, more complicated and longer lasting than the others. So that fits the guidelines really nicely. Since this chart was prepared, the Dow's moved a little lower, and it's reached so far down to 12,109. If that's where wave E orange of this triangle ends, then it's just 11 points longer than 0.618, the length of wave D. We should expect one of the subwaves of a triangle to exhibit a 0.618 relationship to its predecessor. None of these waves of this triangle so far do that, so it's left up to wave E to do that, and it may have just finished that. So that would be a very, very satisfactory triangle structure, meets all the rules and many of the guidelines. It looks textbook perfect for a contracting triangle. So when this is over, we should see some upwards movement in a 5-wave structure, either a diagonal or possibly an impulse, for wave C green to the upside, which may not end above 12,395. It may move right up to this point, but not above. At 12,307, wave C green will simply reach 0.618, the length of wave A green of the zigzag for 2 pink. In the interim, any further downwards movement below 12,038 in the short term would invalidate this wave count, because any further downwards movement for wave E of this triangle may not move beyond the end of wave C. So that's my only bearish wave count that I have. It's not the only possibility, but it's the only one that sees all the sideways movement as a triangle, and it seems like a very nice triangle indeed. I have 3 bullish wave counts for you, and I have a guide at the end to help you work with all these wave counts, so there's 4 in total. This wave count sees this movement as a zigzag for a 4th wave correction at minor degree, and we're still to have the final upwards wave of the C wave zigzag for primary 2. So this downwards movement here is an impulse for an A wave, or this sideways movement here is a triangle for wave B, a contracting triangle, and we need a C wave down to end this zigzag. About 11,838, wave C pink will reach equality with wave A pink, so that's my target for this downwards movement to end. So if all the sideways movement ends and it shoots out strongly downwards, then this is one of the possibilities. This is it on a 2-hour chart. This is the end of that A wave. And here we have the triangle with an A, B, C, D, and E probably over here. couple of reasons why I don't like this wave count very much. This B wave of this triangle must be seen as a 5-wave impulse. There is no way to see this downwards wave as anything but a 5-wave impulse. One of the 5 subwaves of a triangle may be an impulse, but it seems extremely strange to see a B wave as an impulse. So it doesn't invalidate the triangle by any means, but it just puts a little bit of doubt in this wave count. I think it reduces its probability. We have to see each other subwave of this triangle as a zigzag. No problems here with A or C or D certainly. This E wave, we should expect one of the subwaves of a triangle to be more complicated and longer lasting than the others. It's usually C or D, it could be E, so it's slightly less common, but this certainly is possible. It doesn't have as good a look as that previous triangle structure I showed you on the 2-hourly chart though. If price shoots out strongly downwards, this wave count will be technically valid, it will be correct. And if we see a C wave that's reasonably equal in length to wave A and is a nice 5-wave structure and then price turns on up, then we may expect reasonably to see new highs for the Dow. This is my second bullish wave count, which sees wave 4 blue. It's still unfolding as a zigzag, but this one is essentially the same as my bearish wave count, because 1, 2, 3 and ABC look and behave pretty much the same. So I like this triangle structure much better. Of all the 3 bullish wave counts, I think this one has the highest probability. So this is a downwards impulse here for wave A, and thereafter wave B pink unfolding as a zigzag with an A, a triangle for B, and we need a C wave to move upwards. So if this sideways movement ends shortly and price moves strongly upwards, likewise, B can't move beyond the start of A. So just like the bearish wave counter has the same upwards invalidation point for the short term, and the same downwards invalidation point for the short term, we won't have differentiation between this bullish wave count and my first bearish wave count until the end of wave C. Once we have a 5-wave structure down here, any further upwards movement may not move into this point, and if it does, then this will be correct. If, however, we have a very, very strong downwards movement, eventually moving below 10,720, when this wave count will be invalidated at that point. But in all practicality, we could probably eliminate it quite a lot sooner than that. When we saw strong movement down below the lower edge of that big wide blue channel on the bearish wave count daily chart, then we could reasonably eliminate this possibility. It sees the Dow is possibly going to have new highs and a continuation of that further long, slow upwards movement. And finally, this is my final bullish wave count. I prefer it the least of all the 3. It has the least likely look. I don't like it because the AC trend line really doesn't have much of an upward slope. It really should have a better slope than that. It's okay to see the BD trend line flat, so this would be considered to be a barrier triangle, but I don't like this trend line. It's technically possible, however. We'd have to see this downwards movement as a corrective structure, because this downwards movement for wave C of the triangle can only be seen as an impulse. We cannot count that any other way. This wave count's invalidated if we see movement below 12,038. It sees upwards movement as imminent, and it would be confirmed if price moves strongly upwards to a new high above 12,395. So because of those 4 wave counts I've given you to work with today, here's a guide to use on the hourly chart to determine which ones to eliminate and when. The sideways movement we've seen for the last few days has to end, and when it does, it's going to move either upwards very strongly or downwards very strongly. On the balance of probability, I would expect I've got more wave counts that expect it to move upwards, so maybe we could expect it's slightly more likely that we'll see upwards movement. If we see downwards movement and it moves below 12,038, then we will have only one wave count confirmed and all the others at that stage will be eliminated. If, however, the sideways movement ends shortly and we see price shoot out strongly upwards, once it gets above 12,253, we will have 3 correct wave counts and we can eliminate one, our first bullish wave count. At that stage, we need to see further upwards movement. If price moves above 12,395, we will have only one wave count. It will be bullish, expecting continuation of further upwards movement. This one seems the least likely of all those wave counts, however. We may see upwards movement which may not move above 12,395, and if that's the case, then we will have 2 wave counts to work with, one bullish and one bearish, and we'll only be able to differentiate between those 2 with that following impending downwards movement. So the situation is very unclear. With all that sideways movement, there are several possibilities, and there are at least 2 or 3 of those which I think look pretty likely. Both that main bearish and that second bullish wave count, with the A, B, C and 1, 2, 3 looking pretty much the same, have a very, very nice triangle structure in there that meets all the rules and guidelines. It looks textbook perfect. Either one of those could be correct. We will know in a few days, hopefully, and we can use that guide to work with those 4 wave counts. That's all for me today. Good luck out there and happy trading.